own rabbit hole. We're very simple. They're very complicated, and this has caused more and more problems. And their problems just mount by the hour, by the minute. But
No, I agree 100%. You know, I mean, and that's something that's really come to my mind after listening to your show, and that's why, you know, that's why I encourage everybody to listen to your show, because it's an attitude that you won't get other places. It's an understanding that all is not lost. You know, it seems like everybody always thinks that all is lost. In fact, you touched on that on one of your shows recently. That's kind of something that we're always thinking that the end is near, aren't we?
yeah, that's a white rabbit. That's a white rabbit fantasies. White rabbits are prone to fantasies. Your neighbors believing they were evil sinners for hundreds of years. Your ancestors believe in that. Your neighbors believing they're evil racists. These are all white rabbit fantasies. They're not true. There are positive and negative fantasies. Lord of the Rings, a positive fantasy, is a movie based on a positive fantasy. But All Hope Is Lost is based on the fantasy that race is not real. We must be consistent in our thinking at all times. All hope is not lost because you can get on a plane and go into Russian, German, Italian access in a day from now, be a citizen in an all-white country. That's what they're worried about. They're not worried about what you think they're worried about. They're worried about losing their gene pool, because if you lose a white rabbit, you lose everything.
Right, right. I mean, if North America lost its white rabbits, it would be a third world country. I mean, or third world countries, it would definitely go downhill very, very quickly. Now, personally, I don't want to leave North America. You know, I consider myself an American by blood, and although you know, I would never rule it out as a last ditch possibility. You know, this is where I'm want to, you know, stay and fight, and I think we can win it here. You know, I talk to white rabbits, if you will, in Europe, and a lot of them will tell me how, you know, or you know, I've talked to Americans that are moving to Europe, and I say, why? I mean, we've got more Irish in America than they have in Ireland. In fact, we probably have about 4 times as many Irish in America as we have in Ireland. We've got as many Scandinavians in America and Canada as they have in Scandinavia. We have more Polish in Chicago than they have in Warsaw, Poland. There's an awful lot of Europeans over here in America, and I'm not quite ready to throw in the towel on America yet.
Oh, no, no. But what it does is, what I want your leaders to understand is, all these scenarios put pressure, because the whole entire world, everyone knows about white flight. You can wiki it in the Wikipedia. White flight is there. Asia flight's not there. African flight. White flight is there.
Right.
They envision these little white rabbits saying, screw Anglosphere. Anglosphere is America, the UK, and Australia. We're going to the white country. They envision that. They know you'll do that.
Yeah.
So if they really take you off. So, yeah, it creates a leverage. It creates a pressure point. All hope is not lost, because all else will never be equal. We're not equal. So
No.
how could all things be equal? But this puts pressure on them. What happens if you wake up one morning thinking you have your planetary order, your new world order, and all of a sudden you have a new competitor for it? You have a new competitor not only for that, but that can take your gene pool, and then you'll never have them back again. And who knows what they'll do to you then, because if you don't have white rabbits on this planet, you don't have a whole lot of power.
No, you don't. And as you mentioned, power is slipping away from these pink rabbits here. They need the scarcity. They need these bottlenecks. They need these control points. And we just, like water going around a dam, seem to find our way around these control points. And how does this play out in conflicts on a national level, on wars and so on and so forth? Because I heard you talking in one of your shows recently how most white nationalists think that we're really good at wars. You know, they'll look at Nazi Germany, and they'll say, boy, you know, they were almost completely surrounded, and yet they you know, their kill ratio was very, very good. They had a lot of technology. These guys were great warriors. What is it about us that makes us excel in war?
Well, there's a certain contradiction with the white rabbits. We are not conflict-oriented. If the white rabbit were conflict-oriented, most of European royalty would have been killed off 1,000 years ago. If the white rabbits were conflict-oriented, the Vikings would have taken over the world. When a Viking-style gene pool in the United Kingdom, Her Majesty, basically the crown, the royal family of England, took over the whole world with the redcoats. So if you get the pink rabbit banksters and the elitesters behind a big Aryan rabbit army, they'll take over the world. They did it. They did it underneath the British imperialism. But by and large, we are not conflict oriented. We are defensive. It means 80-90% of our survival is based on defense. It's not based on birth rates. We are not birth centric. We're not Africans. And so basically, we enter into a unique combination. We are not conflict-oriented at all. We go away from conflict, which means the reason we've excelled at conflict in so many areas is because we dominate scarcity. We don't do scarcity. We do abundance. We have the new technology. We have the new gadgets and gizmos. I mean, white rabbits are sitting across the whole top of the planet. The rest of the world is saying, let me in. 90% of the world plus is sitting out there in these little hellholes, and we're sitting across the whole top of the planet surrounded by all this outrageous technology, and they don't have any land. We have all the big watering holes. We have all the vast majority of water on this planet. 10% has all that, and we do it through technology. We do it because we dominate scarcity. If we did conflict well, we wouldn't have immigration problems.
Right. If we were aggressive and we sought out conflict, I don't think we'd be sitting here watching blacks commit outrageous levels of crime and stuff. But we always have had the potential to solve these problems. Our ability to produce is just outrageous. And as you said, create. I mean, this is another point that I got from your show was that, it makes us completely unpredictable. You can put white people under pressure. You can put them in a tough situation, and you have no idea what they're going to come up with. You got a pretty good idea that whoever's putting them under pressure has got some trouble coming because we're tough to nail down, but you don't know which way we're going to go. You talked about, if you take an African tribe over in Africa and you fast forward 1,000 years, you can pretty much predict basically what they're going to be doing. If you fast forward 100 years, you have no idea what we're going to be doing. We might be going to Mars or something.
Yeah, you don't know what the white rabbits are doing, because if you would have went back 50 years and predicted our future, you would have not had it. You would have been way out. The inventors of the internet, these guys that put the internet together in the defense industry, which all our creativity has been running down a defense path. Why? Our survival is based on a defense, having a home, being able to shut the doors to outsiders. A typical type of behavior that we have to engage in. They basically denied us that. But what the guys from the internet did was they went on this elaborate thing on how big it would be. They were off by a mile. They couldn't have come close. And even the one that was laughed at, he was laughed at the most for being the most imaginative with how big this network thing would be, this internet. He was still off by a country mile. You cannot underestimate how real race is.
Right, and that's a huge plus for us. I mean, I thank God every day that I'm born white now, and now that I understand things. But, as a youth, I've told my listeners before, I was homeschooled, and I lived up in a mountain in a rural area, and I had no idea about the world around me, and I thought that other rabbits were just same as us with different colors on them and such, and it took me a little bit of going to high school in a big city in Southern California and learning about race before I actually started to get these things through my head. And it took me a while. I mean, I got to tell you, when I was a teenager, at first I hung out with Mexicans a lot, and I tried to get to know these other people. There weren't too many blacks around, but I just thought that they were interesting. That they weren't really, I didn't see them as a threat immediately until I learned some lessons. It seems that we're not terribly ethnocentric naturally either.
No, we're not. We're dependent on one or two in a group to look out for us. And that's really all you need. There's only in any given area, wherever a white rabbit is listening to me, there will only be one anti-racist working against you, one powerful anti-racist. We need one person working on our ethnic interests in every area, and that's basically it. One person on a consistent message is all it takes to even isolate that person. But we are not terribly ethnocentric. Everything's related to a few. Very few of us are good at physics, but it only takes one Nikola Tesla to set the world on fire. He's a big deal. Tesla. L.A., Nikola Tesla. He's going to be a huge deal for White Rabbits. But it only takes one of them. But our creativity is dependent on us being spread out and us being able to go with our creativity, us being able to develop it under a natural theme. And you must have someone sticking up for our ethnic interests, or obviously we get into problems we have now. But we were very easy to pin down for a variety of different reasons. One of them being we aren't ethnocentric and we're spread out over all these creative fields.
Well, that's true. We're